So for the last couple of years, I've really been focused on one really important problem that this world has. And we have an ocean plastic problem. And it's funny when we think about it, we talk about it, when we look at this room, if we filled it with plastic, that's the amount of plastic entering the ocean every single minute of every single day. And I know there's a lot of talk about solutions to ocean plastic. If we could just scoop it up, then we have no more plastic problem. But, it's a lot more complicated than that, but I'm an optimistic person because it isn't really a plastic problem. It's a human problem. And humans can solve human problems. And I think more specifically, code and technology is a huge factor in solving these human problems. But we don't just want to cause band-aid solutions. We want to look at the root cause, and when we started to look at the root cause of ocean plastic, we really found one metaphor that makes a lot of sense. And if you walked into the kitchen, and the sink was overflowing, water pouring on the floor, piling up, and all you have is a bucket and a mop, what do you do first? And the answer is you turn off the tap. So as much as we can talk about scooping plastic out of the ocean, that is a futile effort until we turn off the tap. And this is what we've been looking at, how do we do it? And what we've discovered is that 80% of ocean plastic starts on land in developing countries where they have almost no waste management systems. This is Peru. All the plastic's thrown on the riverbed. As soon as it rains, it washes into the rivers and pours into the ocean. This is the Philippines, another town and another lead source of ocean plastic. Southeast Asia is actually one of the largest sources of ocean plastic on the planet. And this is Haiti. And you'll notice where there's an abundance of poverty, there's often an abundance of pollution. And we started to look at these two solutions and look, how can we mirror it together? Because it's important to realize it's not that people in these countries don't care. But quite often, when you're earning $1 a day, it's impossible to look any further than that day. You can't consider the earth, consider the planet, when your entire life is about surviving for a day. And when we look at plastic as to why plastic is being thrown out, when really, pound for pound, plastic is worth more than steel. Plastic has value. So why is it garbage when it's a resource in these areas? And we look at the fact that if you were on an island, and there's a gold brick on that island, but nobody accepted it as currency, no vendor would take it, nobody wanted it, you'd probably just walk by and treat that gold brick of trash. But what's amazing with plastic is if you think of it, if every plastic bottle was worth $5, you would not see a single plastic bottle on the ground in any country, which means it's not about the material, it's about the perception. And plastic doesn't need to be worth $5 to have value. And this is where we started to look at systems of how do we monetize plastic? How do we reveal the value in plastic? So we started to look around the world where they had existing systems of people collecting. And at first, it's often uses such undignified names. It's called waste picking, scavenging, where it's treated as a supply chain. It's treated as how do we get the lowest price material to use? And that is not a good thing for the world, and that is not a good thing for the people involved. So we started looking and learning what was working, what wasn't. We went to Colombia, Peru, studied what people really wanted, what their pain points were, to really learn before we act. And it became abundantly clear. So most people don't realize that plastic is directly correlated to the price of petroleum. We had peak oil. Then it dropped to the point that 90% of the world's recycling went away because it became cheaper to buy new plastic. And what happens to anyone collecting? When prices go up, prices go down, and especially when you're working with an uneducated, illiterate base, you can't understand that there's a correlation on the commodity prices which is causing change. And that instability is what makes someone feel like I've been taken advantage of. It loses trust in the program, and around the world, you have people that start recycling then stop as soon as it changes. And there was these two factors of that instability of price is what caused recycling to go away, but also the dignity, where it can't just be a scavenger thing. It needs to be something where there's dignity, pride in a community. So we started to look at the root of how do we reveal value in plastic? We reveal value in the people, and we create a system that can dignify recycling and bring stability above the market price, where we put the collectors first. So we started to look creatively, and we started right at that rock bottom plastic price of how do we creatively put more value into the hands of people collecting. So we started these collection centers where in Haiti it's called Ramasser l'argent, which means picking up money. Our brand is Social Plastic, and in Haiti it's Combit Plastic, which means to gather together. And we created these community centers around recycling where it's done with pride. And it's not just recycling for money. People can recycle for items, recycle for necessities, recycle for things they need. And we started to get creative and look, how can we put more value? So we put solar panels on the locations. And Haiti's a country where 75% of people don't have power, but they have cell phones. And someone making $1 a day is paying 20 cents to charge a cell phone. So we thought, why don't we just put solar-powered cell phone charging so you can go recycle and trade your bottles for cell phone charging? And this is what opened it up to be a community thing, where it's no longer just a recycler. Someone in the community will say, well, I don't recycle for a living, but why would I throw my plastic away when I can get my phone charging, my fuel, my food? Which all of a sudden they don't look down at the person who's recycling because they also see value in the recycling, see value in the community. And it starts to bring everything together. And so we started to announce to the world that we're going to make plastic waste a currency to stop ocean plastic. And it's something that we can't do ourselves. We needed the world behind us. And it actually worked really well. We had over 1 million people on Facebook asking for corporations to use social plastic. We have people on Twitter who would ask corporations to use hashtag social plastic, calling them out. And what this did, it meant we could go to some of the largest companies on the planet and say millions of people are asking for this, thousands are calling you out by name. I think we should talk. And when we did this, we've literally been able to partner with some of the most largest and powerful organizations on the planet. And we've attracted partners that can really bring this to life. And just to be super clear even of how our model works, just before I dive into the next part. So our systems work where someone in country goes, collects the plastic, brings it to one of our locations. It's sorted by weight and color and type. There's a value assigned to it. We take that plastic when it's sorted, and it never gets mixed from that part, which is what allows us to take that plastic, process it, sell it to companies to use in their products. So we have things like water bottles, we have coat hangers, we have pretty much anything you can use recycled plastic for. We can take that plastic, sell it as social plastic. And social plastic is plastic that helped improve someone's life, but also helps stop ocean plastic. But where it gets into the world of blockchain, and this is one of the community centers, is we started to look at how do we scale around the world. Because it's an important thing. If we set up one location at a time, it becomes a nice-to-do campaign. It doesn't stop ocean plastic. And we started to look at how can blockchain and technology take away the pain points of dangerous cash-based economies. How do we prove to clients, to the world, that we're delivering on the promise of social good? And this is where we started to, again, look at how do we bring in those right partners. So one of the speakers later today is Ron Argent from Cognition Foundry. And Ron has really come on to help us take what we do best and really bring in those pieces of what he does best and what other organizations like IBM does best to start to do this right. To look at, it can't just be one location at a time. It's got to be a system where anyone with a cell phone and a scale can start a recycling ecosystem in their own world. And it's been interesting when we look at how do we bring in blockchain to be a part of this. We realize that because of our end-to-end ecosystem that goes from a collector all the way to a consumer, we need to not just create a blockchain node, we need to create the entire ecosystem in a way that it worked for everyone. And for us, Ron helped us really align how do we make this work around the world. Our goal is to have 1 billion users of whether they're in developing countries, developed, all contributing towards stopping this problem. So we're on blockchain Hyperledger Fabric on Linux 1, and we're looking at that solution that can work anywhere in the world. So the way our blockchain solution works is if I'm a collector, I have the app, I have my own digital wallet, where we have our own asset-backed digital token that we can use to phase out cash in regions where it's dangerous to have cash, where corruption is skimming from vulnerable people, where mafias are involved, where all of a sudden, what this really opens up, though, is that we work with the unbankable. And I can't imagine what it's like to not qualify for a bank account. So even to pay for school tuition, you have to save about $250 American worth in your home that's mostly unlocked, and then transfer that around town, transfer it to school, and that's dangerous. So we thought, what if through recycling, you could earn that digital token that works in your own economy, where you could pay for school tuition, but more importantly, for the first time in your life, you can save. You can have a safe, secure blockchain digital wallet that allows savings for the world's unbankable. And we start building on that concept. So as a collector, I have the ability for digital savings, the ability for that blockchain-based identification, where I can then start qualifying for new opportunities, and we can start paying people 2, 3, 5 times the amount they would normally make, because we now have a blockchain-secured proof of delivery for social impact. And a lot of the world's social good is fraught with stories of well-intentioned things going wrong. But if we can blockchain verify the promise of delivery, that becomes one of the most trusted ways we can do it. So even in our own system, it goes, the collector can use the app, but also anyone running any form of business in our ecosystem also has a function within the app. I can run the recycling center directly through the app. I have my inventory, my point of sale, I have digital receipts. We can send orders directly to those locations. So we can have the world's largest companies putting that order directly into these communities and ensuring every single person is getting the exact amount that they're having. And this goes all the way back to a supply chain system where we track the supply chain through blockchain. And we really look at just every way we can leverage technology to transfer that value to the collectors, transfer that value to our clients. And really, in the end, when someone buys a product made of social plastic, we're transferring the value that they can trust that that purchase was a vote for something good. Because quite honestly, as a consumer, everything you buy, you are voting. You're voting for how it was made and the company who made it. And I think we have this world where the educated consumer is starting to look for those kind of things. And this is what I love technology. We're not quite there yet, but it's almost at the point, you ask your phone in a grocery store, which of these products is better for the planet? Which of these products should I get? And again, when we can bring in things like blockchain verified impact, and anyone creatively who starts using blockchain for any way that the average person considers a trust stamp, this is where I think blockchain is powerful. And when we really look in the blockchain side of things, I think it's so important that we realize that blockchain is both one of the most important technologies, but currently almost one of the most overhyped in the wrong direction technologies, just because of the focus. So yes, the world of cryptocurrency, it has an amazing value, but blockchain is just a facet of cryptocurrency. But what's interesting, we're at the point where blockchain is in the early adopter, just going past there. And the early adopter is the tech world. It is the programmers, it is developers, and they speak a language. And where this can be dangerous if we keep going on the tech world side, there seems to be a bad habit of people over-explaining blockchain. There seems to be a lot of people that like to sound smart explaining blockchain, and sometimes the person hearing it doesn't get it. I think it needs to be done in a way that the person hearing it sounds smart for understanding it, because you've said it so simply. And some examples of it, we get people who contact us and say, you guys are hypocrites, the mining is way bad for the environment. There is no mining in our system. And this is, again, where people latch onto a version of blockchain. Same with blockchain does not need to be a completely decentralized system. That's an option. It's a feature. But when we say that blockchain is purely for decentralized things, this becomes reasons that entrepreneurs and small businesses say, well, I guess that won't work for me. So, my advice, if we're really going to simplify blockchain, is to really just understand that, the word database almost never gets used on blockchain. but it's a database. It's really the most encrypted, secure database, one of the best options. But again, if you want the average person to understand what's blockchain, it's probably one of the most secure databases you can use. Ah, I get it. And it's kind of like when we explain computers. When someone says, how does this website work? We don't say, well, let's start with Java, Python, let's get into the CSS. Then we'll get into how the World Wide Web works. We just say, well, the computer, you point here and you can buy something on Amazon. Oh, I get it, I can use that. And where I think it's so important not to downplay the amazing features of blockchain, but simplify it enough that the average person understands it's a trust stamp. They really just need to know, so you're saying if this is secured by blockchain and this isn't, there's a good chance that my information's more protected. There's a good chance that my account is more protected. And I think it can just be simplified that blockchain is really the most trusted and secured way to instantly exchange, approve, and record data. And when it goes from there, I think it's also important to realize that what most people are fascinated with blockchain, it's smart contracts is really where a lot of the dot connection and light bulbs come from. Because when we have smart contracts, that's when we just have really instant decision making. And we have that logical path that allows an exact thing to work as needed. So again, it's just simplified that blockchain is a trusted data. Smart contracts is just the way it flows. And it's so important that the world realizes just how important blockchain can be. Because even in our own world, when we look at trust and security and the vulnerability of the people that we're impacting, we need to have that the world's illiterate, uneducated, who doesn't read the news, can understand the difference between a blockchain secured account and something that could be hacked. We need to have the world just have this basic understanding, because that's where we get the tipping point, where we start to have these new economies and, in our world, developing for the world's underserved. This is one of the new development markets. In the poorest countries of the world, every single year, more people have smartphones, which means when we look at business solutions, technology solutions, we're having a new multi-billion person market coming in. And if we can have blockchain and technologies be in a way that even that market understands the value, that literally opens up billion-person markets for new developments, new solutions, creativity. And as I said before, I'm a huge believer that script and code will be the way that we save this planet, the way that we start solving problems. And I think beyond cryptocurrencies, just blockchain smart contracts is a way that we can really bring a world of trust to technology. And it's been a fascinating ride, really just figuring out these problems and using tech to figure problems. And it's just been amazing to realize that no one does it alone. So for ourselves, our goal is just to be a conduit to enroll the world to help humanity, and even realizing we have to go beyond our own ideas and really open up the world to contribute to these ideas. And we've really just attracted the right people and continue to attract the right people. And partnerships and everything is what makes it happen. So I'd like to introduce one of our newest partnerships as well, where at this event, you may have seen that there's plastic being used. It's tough to get rid of plastic completely. But one of the newest initiatives that we have is what's called a plastic neutral program, where we might not be able to personally recycle every single thing at an event, at a location, at a company, but through our programs, we can help offset the amount of plastic being used at companies by putting more value into the hands of the people collecting.